SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Imagine waking up to the biggest names in morning entertainment. Howard Stern, Today Show Radio, news from CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, NPR, or sports talk on NFL, MLB, NASCAR radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and begin exploring more than 140 channels.
A lot of island music, some really rockin' music, really chill music too.
Kenny Chesney's No Shoes Radio.
I want to put my flip-flops on and get on the boat.
To hear Kenny Chesney's No Shoes Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
Style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, very, very vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Straughter of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! You know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I was voted neighborhood watch person, and some people don't like when I try to bring everybody together when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's not my problem. You voted for me, so you get what you get. I want to say Big C Sports Podcast coming to you on a beautiful Monday, April 29th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you, where the good lunch split you. And hopefully he didn't split you too wide. I want to say you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. I really do appreciate that. I also want to say I got some NFL draft coming up today. Going to talk about some of the players that were selected in the NFL draft just held over the weekend. Also got a special guest coming on talking about a little bit of politics. You know I love talking about politics and sports with Big C Sports Podcast heard all over the world. Number one, I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. As I always say, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all these sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. LeBron James for 3. Yes! Get in the hole in your life. I love talking about NBA basketball and NFL football. And then the show is uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Dimder Hills, California, also known as Sacramento, California. And number 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports back in the day. And I want to say, give that some praise. I never missed a show. Now we have people who miss a day in practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. Very proud that I never missed a day in doing Big C Sports Podcast through joy, pain, sunshine, and rain. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline like they did for the NFL Draft, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And I love leaning on people, if that makes sense to you. I also want to say, with Big C Sports Podcast, I want to thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. Some of my pastor friends, they don't like that because they can't find reparations in the Bible. I said, oh yeah, it's there. You just got to look harder. You got to look a little bit harder, if that makes sense to you. I want to say I'm also doing a commercial with Big C Sports Podcast. I'm not like most programs where they do the commercial and they take 29 takes. I do mine one time. You only get one shot. I think that was what Ice Cube sang in a song. That wasn't Ice Cube. That was Eminem, Big C. Okay, but they said the same thing. With the Big C Sports Podcast, I give you one shot as I do my commercial. And I hope you like it. Some people say I talk too fast. Some people say I talk too slow. I say too slow. Well, you get what you get, and that's my story. I'm taking with it. I want to say a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, resource development consulting with the Big C team in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones, the Missing Link Long-Term Care Solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits through Medicare and You, Taking Care of Tomorrow, and Medi-Cal in California, other places called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. That's important when your family and your loved ones can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options. Our promise to you: we specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. Is that Affleck? No, Affleck's the duck. That's Gap Insurance. We protect your assets. There's a difference, if that makes sense to you. The duck, they end up on the menu for a reason. We don't end up on the menu. We order from the menu, if that makes sense to you. Asset protection is what we are with the RDC team. All paperwork and communication. You got to understand that all paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by a staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. You know anybody ever dealing with skilled nursing facilities? How about prescriptions? You know anyone that's ever dealt with medical equipment costs and more? Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allow you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program. If you ever heard of probate, I'm telling you right now, the government, they have their own plan for you. It's called probate, and probate's for people who don't have the trust and will together, if that makes sense to you. A one-time processing fee versus monthly premiums for the rest of your life. And not only that, protection insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. What about your fixed assets? Bank account, checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets? I'm glad you asked. Real estate, qualified money, IRA. Isn't that something? Your IRA, 401k, and other investments. Also, avoid capital gains. You do that with a trust. Attention business owners, over 3 decades of experience, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. That's what you get with the RDC team. How do we get that number, Big C? 800-772-8624. Call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And tell them Big C sent you. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. You know, I love championing reparations, and I champion the California Reparations Task Force because a mine is a terrible thing to waste. I want to make sure that I always do my part. I know sometimes you talk about things that may be something that you understand. It may be times you don't understand. But I want to make sure that I elucidate every subject with Big C Sports Podcast. So I want to say things that you understand. Even if you don't understand it, you can't say you didn't hear it on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to take the time to do what I always do. I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. You don't want to waste your mind, especially when you have access to the information I have. So the California Reparations Task Force, before I bring on a special guest, I want to give praise to Camila Moore. She's the chair. I think she's brilliant. I want to give praise to Dr. Emmett C. Brown. He's the vice chair. He's brilliant. He's also been on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. Love giving him praise. And I've been in his office many times and met with him. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I'm going to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. Also a professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. And I'm going to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Give him praise, and you can too. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause. And when I come back, I'm going to come back with a special guest. Not only that, I love having special guests on our program, and you won't want to miss it. I'll take the Big C pause. I'll be back in just a minute. Make sure you tell a friend. Listen to Big C Sports Podcast. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe, all over the world, and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Really do appreciate that. I want to make sure that I take the time with the Big C Sports Podcast. I just edified the California Reparations Task Force. I really do appreciate that. I'm also going to talk about the NFL draft. A lot of young men, their dreams just came true. But I also want to bring on a special guest. Her name is Helena Straughter. I just met her today by phone. She is just a wealth of information, retired postal employee with 36 years of service, appointed 3 terms as a delegate and a Democratic Central Delegate alternate for Congresswoman Barbara Lee. And her training was to encourage the community on how to run for a delegate. As I also say, there's something that I love about her disposition. We were talking, and I hope she won't mind me saying this right now. As we were testing her microphone, she said, "Am I going to be on TV? Can they see my face?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You know, my hair's not done." Is that true, Helena? Your thoughts? Speak up, speak now, forever hold your peace. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can.
Were you concerned about your hair not being done? Is that true?
I was, because I was worried about it, and because my hair's not done, my makeup is not on.
It's okay. We like it all natural here on Big C Sports Podcast. No worries about that. But also, just a little bit about you before I have you edify yourself. You were a 2008 Assembly Delegate in District 25, and then 2010 to 2014 Assembly Delegate District 18 for 2 terms. But as I mentioned, you also have other accolades that I mentioned with the 3 terms, Stanislaus in Alameda County. Can you talk more about how you got into the world of politics, if you don't mind, in a few minutes?
Sure. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here on your broadcast today and sharing a little of my journey, in the Democratic Party. As a Black woman, it really was not easy. I'm going to be honest with that.
Yes.
And you really have to have really a tough love. My first experience, as you mentioned, was in 2003 in Stanislaus County.
Yes.
I first ran as a delegate. Surprisingly, I won.
Okay.
But the drama in that was initially the voting place was at a local, at a union hall. And I printed up all my postcards, put them out to Save Mark.
Yes.
All the stores in Stanislaus County.
Yes.
And they moved it to a bowling alley on McHenry. What a last minute notice.
In Modesto, yes.
So I had to get my grandkids, and they was like 7 or 8 in the bowling alley.
Yes.
I said, go and spread out these postcards, and lo and behold, I won as a delegate with 83.5 of the votes.
Wow, that's amazing. That is absolutely awesome. You know, I want to also talking to the great Helena Straughter, and obviously she's been very well skilled and versed in politics. I believe, if you can talk about this too, it was on October 23rd, I think 2018, Assembly Member, now Attorney General Rob Bonta, you were dealing with him in some compassion, also dealing with equity. Can you talk about your experience with Rob Bonta, now California Attorney General?
Rob is an awesome person, and I will say his staff always invited me to a lot of meetings that they was having.
Yes.
And due to the fact that Rob Bonta was able to see when he was an assembly member that I was really connected in the community, just, doing what I do as a Democrat, as a delegate.
Yes.
And, they just awarded me that assembly, and I think I sent you a text for that, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
And so after with Rob and his wife, Mia Bonta, which I was very instrumental in doing a lot of phone banking.
Okay.
And precinct walking. And so as of that, that's how our elected officials start to look at really where our passion is at. So we have to put ourselves out there.
Yes.
Let them know we are concerned about the consumers and what our elected officials is going to do.
Yes.
Whether they're going to do what they say they're going to do.
Now, you were also talking to a great Helena Straughter. You were also, as part of Alameda County, I think you were dealing with the Consumer Affairs Commission in Alameda County. So that's the Bay Area, primarily. Oakland is the major city in Alameda County. Talk about what you did with that position.
Well, you know what? Rest in peace. Wilma Chan, she was the Board of Supervisors, and I think a lot of people know the story. She got ran over, she got killed. But in 2011, she appointed me on the Alameda County Consumers Affairs Board.
Yeah.
And on that board, I was able to be instrumental because I was a real estate broker back in the day. And I knew of a lot of people that was losing their property in foreclosure. And I got a lot of good connection with HUD as well.
Yes.
HUD, the Federal Trade Commission. I mean, I had all the heavyweights that came to this event.
Yes.
And they was my panel discussion, and it opened up a lot of doors for people that was in a foreclosure situation. Bank of America was there.
Yes.
Wells Fargo was there. Citicorp, I had everybody was there. So the Consumers Affairs Commission Board opened up the door for me to really have the Board of Supervisors, collaborating with the consumers, making that work.
Yes, that's amazing. Also talking to the great Helena Straughter. Can you tell me, when we talk about equity, and you talk about women of color, African American, black women, whatever you want to call it, and with your background and also being acknowledged by now Attorney General Bonta and some of the other political heavyweights, can you talk about any other political heavyweights that you've dealt with, even in position of power that you were, or dealing with equity and inclusion? Any other names you want to add in there, if that makes sense to you?
Well, like I said, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and you mentioned it.
Yeah.
With the Democratic Central Committee, Alameda County Democratic Central Committee.
Yes.
She appointed me as an alternate there. And for the State Democratic Party, I was appointed on a finance committee as well.
Yes.
And also I wrote really good resolutions getting involved in the Democratic Party, I learned through trial and error.
Yes.
I wrote a resolution on another step for healing our foreclosure crisis.
Yep, that's true.
Debt repair and Medicare Part B.
Yes.
Now, I was a strong advocate on Medicare Part B. The reason why I was because people that's still in good health, working past 65,
yes,
they're not thinking about signing up for Medicare Part B.
Right.
If you don't sign up for Medicare Part B within your 65 years, you get penalized 2% each year you didn't sign up.
Yes.
I don't think, and I wrote a resolution on that as well. And the state Democratic Party adopted all 3 of my resolutions.
Wow.
And as a result, the debt repair, all 3 of the credit bureaus had revised how they're putting information on people's credit report.
On their credit report,
and
yes.
also, what was a blessing in this, I faxed all my resolutions, my resolutions to all 50 states.
Yes.
There was one state, a Republican down south.
Yes.
He took my resolution, and you know what he did?
What's that?
He turned it into a bill.
That's powerful. So the pen, would you agree the pen is mightier than the sword? Would you agree with that, Ms. Straughter?
Would you repeat that again, please?
So you're saying that the pen is actually mightier than the sword. Marching's great. Complaining is great. But when you take something and put it in writing and you submit it to someone in position of power and they turn that into the bill, so the pen is mightier than the sword. Is that correct?
Correct. So
based on that, California is the first state in the union to have a reparations task force. When the largest state in the union, there's other states that have been trying whatever they've tried, but California came together with a reparations task force committee. And just this month, I believe on the 23rd or the 24th of this month, the California Senate Judiciary Committee has approved a bill to establish the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency to facilitate reparations programs in California. And Senator Stephen Bradford of Gardenia, he authored the bill, which is known as 1403. So that won 8-1. It had 2 abstentions. But give me your thoughts as a black woman who's dealt with people in politics, and reparations is as powerful as anything that's ever happened in this country since the Emancipation Proclamation. Give me your thoughts on reparations as an intelligent black woman that's been around the political scene, and we're not acting like, oh, this won't happen. Give me your thoughts on that, please. Your thoughts on reparations.
Well, my thought is some of the research that I've been doing on it, and I post a lot of that on my Facebook, especially, with Gavin Newsom, with our governor and everything. I think, we've been talking about it long enough,
yep.
And I would like to see our political colleagues, our governor, our Senate, our Congress, bring an end to this.
Yes.
This is not a rocket science thing.
Right.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
So we need to, find out a solution. How, you got all these committees.
Yes.
Why you need all these committees?
Exactly.
Bring it to the table.
Yes.
Bring it to the governor. Bring it to the Senate. If the bill had passed, bring it to Gavin Newsom. Sorry, Governor Gavin Newsom.
No, don't be sorry. That's true.
Because he and I have met at a lot of conventions.
Yes.
But bring it to him, and let's close the chapter.
I want to tell you also, just in having conversation with you too, Helena, when we talk about what needs to be done, like we are the talented 10th, W.E.B. Du Bois spoke about that. We can't wait for someone at the back of the line to say what's going to happen. So we either lead, we either follow, or get out of the way. So you are 100% right in asking Governor Gavin Newsom, who has no problem asking for our vote, to sign reparations into law. Even President Biden, President Abraham Lincoln, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Through executive order, they created Freedmen's agency is back in 1865. He did it through executive order. He didn't keep putting it to a vote. And the same thing we asked President Biden to do, the same way President Biden asked the black community to put him in office by voting for him, and the black community came through with Clyburn's help down south. And if we don't ask for it, then why would they give it to us? So it's something that should be done. It's been done for descendants of Holocaust. They're not still voting on that. And it's been done for Chinese Americans or Japanese Americans after World War II. They're not voting on that. It's been done for Native Americans. They're not voting on that. So what is it that we are sometimes passive as black Americans saying, sign the bill, your thoughts?
Well, my thought is I don't think a lot of black organizations are making enough noise behind this.
Yes. Well,
I don't think enough organizations have, said, hey, let's come together. I mean, we got a lot of black organizations around in California where collectively we come together. I remember when we rented a bus and we went to Sacramento. I forgot what we was rallying about 8 years ago. Yeah. And we went to Sacramento on the steps. Yes. And we made noise. But what I don't hear enough black people making noise behind with Governor Gavin Newsom saying, we need to come to an end on this issue about black reparation. We need to close the chapter.
Yes, they've already done it for descendants of Holocaust. They've done it for Japanese Americans. They've done it in other countries for reparations. It's a worldwide movement where even the United Nations saying that strong political will and support are necessary for reparations, not passivity, not being passive. We don't need an apology. We don't need to lift every voice and sing. That's ancillary. So with Senate Bill 1403, it seeks to create the California American Freedmen's Affairs Agency within the state government under the governance of the secretary appointed by the governor. And this agency would be tasked with implementing recommendations from the Reparations Task Force confirming individual status as a descendant. So I agree with you. The pen is mightier than the sword. In the next few minutes, I want to get your thoughts. If this was the BET Awards, not knocking it, if this was some type of Oscars awards show, we have some of our more prominent black American, African American citizens that want to attend those awards that do nothing to further the cause for reparations for black Americans. And I would love to see a sea change where we did have our entertainers and our athletes and our sports leagues the same way we ended apartheid in South Africa. There needs to be a more vocal movement, and you're part of that cause whether you know it or not. And we need to see that and be proud of that. Does that make sense to you? What can more black women do and black men do in order to make sure we get the pen to the paper? Your thoughts?
My thought on that is like what I've been doing for years. Say my congresswoman is Barbara Lee, right?
Yes.
So every state, Sacramento, every state needs to be calling their congressperson and saying, we need to finalize, put a period behind this reparation for blacks.
Yes.
They didn't wait that long for other nationalities. Why are we waiting that long for blacks?
Amen. Amen.
But
Amen.
See, the problem is, and the same thing with the NAACP.
Yes.
We got a lot of black organizations that we don't hear nothing about this reparation. Why?
That's a good question, but you know what? That's a very good question. That's why either lead, follow, or get out of the way. We got to be leaders of this. And Helena, I'm telling you, you're something else. Because
but the thing is, like in California, in the northern area,
yes,
we got the NAACP in Hayward.
Yes.
We got the NAACP in Oakland.
Yes.
I never heard them say anything about this.
I know it. That's why you're on Big C Sports Podcast, because as a co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, my cry, it's not even a cry, my proclamation is to say it loud and proud every day. For good people in this country, reparations will stimulate the economy. And some people say, oh, it's divisive to talk about reparations. It's not more divisive than slavery was. It's not more divisive than Jim Crow. It's not more divisive than this segregation now, segregation forever that Governor Wallace spoke about back in the day. It's not divisive at all to make something right that was wrong. And I hope that we get to the point where we champion about reparations as loud as we champion about going to see the movie Color Purple, as loud as we champion about watching an NBA basketball game or the NFL draft. And in closing, I just want to get your thoughts again on what you, as a person who's accomplished so much, what uplifts you about our community, the young black community, where there are people involved in politics, like Big C Sports, like yourself, and like other people that you meet when you go to these meetings, when you will hold those meetings. What gives you encouragement, if that makes sense to you?
You know what gave me an encouragement when I became a delegate in the fight and the, I'm going to say, the petty fight that I had to have.
Yeah.
In achieving what I had in my own spirit. My own spirit lifted me, and the battles that the people brought to me just encouraged me to strive even more. So my thing is with different states.
Yes.
Alameda, Sacramento, Davis, San Jose, is just not just write letters, but make phone calls.
Yeah.
And don't stop.
Yes.
And also try to get yourself involved in the inner circle, not for your recognition, but to make a difference. We've been sitting, and you know what? Another part that, me and some of my colleagues, how come all these other nationalities got their reparation?
Yeah.
And our forefathers were brought over here to develop this land, and we still waiting.
Still waiting, because the time has come now. And there are a lot of people saying, vote for people who want to vote for reparations. Enough shucking and jiving. We don't need you coming to the churches and singing and telling us how you have our back. Put the pen to the paper the way President Abraham Lincoln did when he signed Freeman's Bank back in 1865. Even the Homestead Act, it gave white Americans over 300 million acres of land. The government did that. Even white Europeans, but you had to be white, you couldn't be black. And that money that they gave, that was after slavery from 1619 to 1865. Look at all the tremendous wealth that was built up when you talk about the wealth gap. That stuff is still in the family and the bloodlines of those people to this day. We never got that, Ms. Straughter. Your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. Once again, we still living in the dark age.
Yeah. Well, we gotta.
And the reason why we are continuing to revolve around this same circle, because we don't have enough black people.
Yeah.
That wants to stand up and do a fight for what is right.
Yes.
And like I was sharing with one of my friends earlier, when we had Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, we had fighters for the black people. Now they're getting in office and they can give a fat rat about what's going on with blackness.
Well, I would say that there are some who do and there are some who don't. But when it comes to us having a microphone, with Big C Sports, I talk about it every day. And that's why I appreciate you coming on the program. I know you do a lot of blogging or Facebook. How can someone follow you if they say, you know what, I like that lady. I know she didn't get her hair done before the program, even though you said, oh my God, are they going to see my hair? I thought that was so funny. You have so much knowledge, but you said, are they going to see my hair? I said, of course they're going to see your hair. But where can people follow you and some of the articles that you write about? Please, go right ahead, please.
You know what? On my Facebook, I talk politics. I talked about Gavin Newsom.
Yes.
I talk about the homeless and the money when he talking about the abortion.
Yes.
And what's going on in Arizona. I said, well, look, you're not taking care of the situation here in California.
Wow, that's deep.
What? My Facebook is my name, Helena, Helena, Straughter, Straughter. GHTER, and they can befriend me.
Wow, that is wonderful. I tell you, I'm going to befriend you too if that's okay with you. But I'm not going to show you my hair because I'm shaved, okay? But I like the way it looks. It's all fair and level war. Talking to the great...
Oh, and another thing on my Facebook I do.
Yes.
I also outline when it's time to run for a delegate.
Yes.
And how to run for a delegate.
That's powerful. I appreciate you coming on the Big C Sports Podcast, talking to the great Helena Straughter, retired postal employee, 36 years of service, appointed 3 terms delegate and a Democratic Central Delegate alternate for Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Her training was to encourage the community on how to run for a delegate. I appreciate you as a beautiful, intelligent black woman, African American, whatever it takes. I want to see our people stop being so quiet. It's okay to be W.E.B. Du Bois, talented 10th, and speak up on these matters more than just going to a game or going to a TV show. In closing, in the last minute, is there anything else that you want to give a wish for? Because sometimes when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. I think Disneyland said that. Anything you want to wish upon before we head out? Your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I enjoyed your broadcast, and I would hope everyone listening will continue being part of your broadcast because we bring truth to power.
Yes. That is well enough said. I want to say thank you so much for being on the Big C Sports Podcast. The great Helena Straughter. What a great conversation to have with you. And as far as I know, your hair looks fabulous. Okay? It's always fabulous. We'll take the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming up 4 TV platforms as well. Just had the great Helena Straughter with her history of helping people in the political spectrum, from Attorney General Rob Bonta, also Barbara Lee, and the people she's worked with and thoughts and having conversation with the governor, Gavin Newsom. But she brought up a name, Martin Luther King Jr., unsolicited. I want you to hear the thoughts on reparations that Dr. King lamented many moons ago.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
As I always love saying, reparations now, reparations forever. As I love with the Big C Sports Podcast, I'm more than just sports, and just had the pleasure of talking to the great Helena Straughter, who's also worked along with Attorneys General Rob Bonta, also has conversations with Gavin Newsom, and was supported by Barbara Lee. And then I let you hear Dr. King's "We Come to Get Our Check" speech when it comes to reparations, because it's necessary. And that was on a Republican talk show. I'm going to bring up another attorney. Her name is Ariva Martin, and she's going to discuss reparations. This is another lawyer. I'm not going to get into football and some NBA, but the NBA, they're doing nothing to make sure that descendants of child slavery get reparations. Oh, they make sure that we play basketball. The NFL is not doing anything to make sure that we get reparations. Oh, they make sure we go touchdown! Whatever that team happens to be. But just like the country came together to end apartheid, they can do the same thing for reparations. So my goal on Big C Sports Podcast is to do all of it. Either lead, follow, get out of the way. I'm going to have the words of Ariva Martin discuss reparations on Fox News. And I'll just add that we just had the NFL draft in Detroit, Michigan, and not one NFL owner hails from descendants of chattel slavery. Not one NBA owner hails from descendants of chattel slavery. Not one Major League Baseball owner hails from descendants of chattel slavery. But they can all trace their family back to the benefits of slavery for the slave owners, the free labor, and the land that appreciated in value, or the Homestead Act in 1862 gave over 300 million acres of land to white people only, and even white Europeans, but you couldn't be black. So they've generated tremendous amount of wealth so they can afford to own an NBA team or an NFL team. But I want to bring on attorney Ariva Martin for about 5 minutes before I finish out today's with NFL.
It's not that cash payments by themselves are enough. It's that cash payments is one way to recognize the harm that was done. And it's very interesting when you look at the Jesuit universities, 27 of them, and the work that they've done in this area. They've gone through this very, very exhaustive process to investigate their relationship to slavery. I mean, so much so that they hired genealogists to trace and to find the actual descendants of enslaved people. So, I mean, you have to think about how expansive and, intense and comprehensive this research was. But then you have to also ask yourself, how come these institutions, with all of their resources, never, ever utilized an economist, a statistician, a labor, expert to tell us the value of the wages and the wealth that they accumulated? It just looks like this big gaping hole. So I think the question should be reframed. How come the universities aren't sharing with the families the value of the labor and the value of the wealth that they've accumulated? So people are always asking descendants or survivors, why do you want money? And I think the question should be the opposite. How come you're not coming to us with money? When you think about the 9/11 victims or any victims of a disaster in this country, there's never, ever a question about should we compensate them. That is a part of our civil, legal, judicial system. You have a harm, somebody else causes it, you are entitled to compensation. It's never, ever challenged, except in those examples where Black folks are involved. So I think we have to change the narrative around this question, and rather than and not suggesting you're doing this, but oftentimes families or individuals who are seeking compensation are put on the defensive as if they've done something wrong. No fault of our own. We did nothing wrong. And if you worked for me, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. If you worked for me and I never paid you, you would have recourse. You would be able to go to a labor board. You'd be able to go into our courts and demand your labor be compensated. You'd be able to get penalties against me for not compensating you. You'd be able to get interest on those wages that I didn't pay you. So again, this isn't like new to capitalism. This is how our country is built. This is how we operate today. You work, I pay. Let's be clear. So our request in terms of compensation restitution is not the total amount that was calculated. We calculated that amount because we felt like it needed to be a part of the conversation. It's on the table. We're not asking them for $74 billion. We're asking them to consider the value of that slave labor in the same way they are considering other aspects of their relationship with enslaved people. What we hope to get out of it is, first, that descendants are literally put back on this committee, that this is no longer a university exclusive committee, that the descendants are there at the table, that they commit to a timeline. Loyola University of Maryland went through this process and wrapped their work up in 2 years. So you can Google them and see what they've done in 2 years. We're into year 5, and we've not even sat down and talked about a plan. So we also hope that there's a commitment to wrap this work up in some foreseeable future, 6 months, 12 months, that it not just go on indefinitely. And then we are asking that the plan that is developed includes not only some of the things that we see in this work, monuments, things that give attribution to those who helped build this university, curriculum changes, projects that help the community. One thing we realized, so many people in St. Louis is a small city, 300,000 people. I live in Los Angeles now. They're like, 12 million people where I live. So few people had even heard of this work. So another part of what we're hoping that comes out of this is some resources spent educating people about this work, because people in that very community don't know. And then, of course, some kind of financial restitution for the labor, for the wages that have been uncompensated for this period of time.
Amen. Give us some praise. That's what I love about Dixie Sports Podcast. Not shucking and jiving, not just talking about who won a game. I mean, I love it all. But to me, Attorney Reva Martin, she hit a home run with that, and that's why I love giving her praise. So there you go with Dixie Sports Podcast. I love having attorneys talk and people who worked at the state level in California talk about reparations in California. I also want to give a double O some praise. She has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. And she had sent me Executive Order 13985 that President Biden signed into office on his first term for advancing economic opportunities for communities of color, and also information from the United Nations that said that strong political will and leadership are important for reparations. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to spend more time on the NFL draft tomorrow. I have another special guest coming on tomorrow that I spoke with today. But I do want to just say for the young men that became first-round NFL draft picks in Detroit, give them some praise. Give them praise. It'd just be, to me, more incredible if the NFL that says end racism on the back of our end zones, if they were to also champion reparations, because imagine reparations will stimulate the economy. You'll have more people to buy your tickets, NFL. It's great that you made some young millionaires, but what about the families they come from? Not everybody gets drafted. And if we put the same energy into ending apartheid in South Africa over 2 decades ago, we could do the same thing for reparations. But I want to say congratulations. The number 1 pick is Caleb Williams out of USC. Obviously, a lot of people love him. He went to Oklahoma and came over to the UFC Trojans. followed his head coach there, and now he's the number 1 pick, and he's with the Chicago Bears. At the same time, he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he deserves all the praise that he's gotten. And so obviously he's going to do well, I think, with the Bears. But they got to find an offensive line to protect him. And then I'll get more into the draft tomorrow's show. Jalen Daniels with number 2 for LSU. And now he's going to be finding his way with the Washington Commanders. Drake May, the number 3 overall pick out of North Carolina, signed with the New England Patriots. Number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. He's going to be playing for the Arizona Cardinals. And number 5 pick, Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. He's going to be signing with the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 6, Malik Neighbors out of LSU is going to be signing with the New York Giants. J.C. Latham, the number 7 pick out of Alabama, will sign with the Tennessee Titans. Michael Phoenix Jr., University of Washington Huskies, will sign with the Atlanta Falcons. Number 9, Romo Duze from Washington will sign with the Chicago Bears. And number 10, J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan will sign with the Minnesota Vikings. Give them all praise. Give them all praise. I wish those young men nothing but the best. They're going to have, hopefully, great success in the NFL. But again, I would hope that the NFL would do more to champion reparations and not just talk about end racism, which is a start, but it's time for it to happen now. If not now, when? That's what I love about Big C Sports Podcast. I don't want to just be the average sports talk show. I know if you research every NFL owner, you can trace somewhere in their lineage they did not come from descendants of child slavery. That's a fact. So the NFL, they have made a fortune mostly off of black athletes, as well as the NBA. And I know people say, oh man, can't we just focus on the game? But if you think about the most powerful sports league in the country, which is NFL football, and they have a heart for it, I believe they do, because they put in racism on the back of their end zones. They didn't run from it. I know NBA does a lot too to try to champion diversity. They have the Black Lives Matters. They had MLK, Black History. They celebrate all that. But they don't go deep enough. And I would hope that they would do that. It can't just be Big C Sports. I know there's a lot of good people, black and white, that want to do the right thing. And that's why a sports platform, people say, oh man, I just want to hear who won the game. But if you want to know who won the game, the people who champion reparations won the game. It's happened for other groups throughout the world. It's time for African Americans down. The pen is mightier than the sword. That's why Senate Bill 1403 is so powerful. That's why having someone like Helena Straughter come onto my program and give her thoughts on reparations and what she's done as a political power in Northern California. It's not something we should be quiet about. You had Attorney Reva Martin talk about it, how reparations are due. Sure, the NFL can do more than just say end racism. How do you end it? You end it by supporting California Senator Stephen Bradford in citing reparations in the law. New York Governor Kelly Hockey, who's studying reparations like California Governor Gavin Newsom. But it's time to stop talking. It's time to do it. Everybody knows it's time to do it. Survivor Today Act, Google Survivor Today Act, is where the Justice Department is working with Congress to make sure that descendants of Holocaust get their payments as we are breathing. They're not saying it's divisive. It's not divisive. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Give me some praise for talking about it. I'm not shy. I'm not going to be shy. I'll not tolerate being shy about it. I only want good people. All we need are good people to stand up and do the right thing. And reparations will get the pen to the paper to make that happen the same way President Abraham Lincoln did it back when he signed Freedmen's Bureau into law in 1865. I do want to touch on a little bit of the NBA because NBA action is fantastic. And a lot of people love seeing the game. Havlicek inbounds to Bird. Bird over to Russell. Russell over to DJ Johnson. DJ Johnson to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum for 3. Yes! In your life, get the hole! We love basketball. In fact, Boston, they are in Miami tonight taking on the Miami Heat. Miami, they had a little attitude and little swagger, and they climbed back into this series, and they split up in Boston, and now Boston leads the series 2-1. But you got to give Miami some credit. They're not going out without a fight. That's my story. I'm taking with it. You got the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're up 3-0 over the New Orleans Pelicans. They're in New Orleans tonight. Most likely they'll turn up the lights on that. But I want to give the Lakers some credit to LeBron James up with the pass, up to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis guarded by the Joker, shoots over the top of the Joker for 3 in your life. Get in the hole! And Crypto.com Arena was jumping down in Los Angeles. So now, when the Lakers did not get swept, they are number 7 seed. They're playing the number 2 seed, which my opinion is the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. The defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets. And they down 3-1. That game's at Denver tonight, tip-off 7 o'clock. I can't wait to see that. Will the Lakers win? The Lakers have led by double digits in every one of their games. They have a chance to do in your life. Get the hole. LeBron James for 3. Yes! They got to do it. If they're going to do it, they got to do it tonight in Denver. You can't go in and lose this game, because if they do, then this series will be over. I don't think it's going to be over tonight, but I've been wrong about the Lakers. I think the Lakers have a lot of, it's more than just pride. Can you play with this young team? The Joker inbounds for the Nuggets, goes over to Murray. Murray with the shot. Murray for 3. He missed it, and the Lakers win. You got to hear that tonight if the Lakers are going to win that series. But I would love the NBA, just like Big C Sports. Not one owner of an NBA basketball team hails from descendants of chattel slavery. Not one owner. About 80% of the players do. 80% of the players from the NBA, they can trace their legacy back to descendants of chattel slavery. 80%. Not one owner can do that. And that's why the NBA, they champion equality. They champion MLK, Black History. They champion all of that. Imagine if they did what President Abraham Lincoln did and what Dr. Martin Luther King did. They celebrate MLK Day in the NBA. You know, you heard his speech when he said, next time we go to Washington, we're going to get our check. What if the NBA stepped up and did that? You know, when reparations passes, more people can buy your jerseys. More people can buy your tickets. Do the same thing for descendants of chattel slavery that's been done for other groups in this country. And that is reparations now, reparations forever. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy from my great-grandparents. On my mother's side, my grandparents, and my beautiful mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, and then my grandmother told me when I was 8 years old, walking through a hallway in Oakland, she said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And she said, what are you doing? Going to get some more cookies? I said, cookies are not what I'm looking for, Grandma. I'm looking for my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. She said, there's something about your voice. I love when you speak. Really do appreciate her. And my grandfather, he was a pastor, owned 2 gas stations and 3 churches. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying go forward. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. On top and speak, a voracious reader, always saying go forward. And then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, in 3.5 years from a major university. Helped me set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew started doing our thing. Daisy, you could be anything you want to be. I dread 54-17, that no weapon formed against me will prosper. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite, a good man. Always trust God that no weapon formed against me will prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always look up newspapers to find stats for Big C Sports Podcast. One day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And the light bulb went up. And now I'm on 29 podcast platforms. I've been Googling ever since. One day Malcolm said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, you can be anything you want. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. As I always tell you, always trust God. As I always tell you, that's my story and I'm taking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you say may be your own. That's my story and I'm taking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with somebody going upside their head. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. Anyone that loves you, they don't slap you. I only slapped you because you made me mad. They don't kick you. I only kicked you because you made me mad. They don't choke you. I only choked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. Don't put up with that crap. That's my story that I'm taking with it. As I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say reparations now, reparations forever. And that's my story that I'm taking with it. As I always tell you, I want to honor President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. King and all the other decent people who know that it's time for reparations. No more shucking and jiving. I don't need you to lift every voice and sing. I want you to honor President Abraham Lincoln. You know the song by now. It's not that hard to do. Do the right thing. It is always right to do the right thing. I want to chant and sing it with me. Reparations now. Reparations forever. Come on, say it like your heart, mind, body, and soul was at the NFL draft. Champion, reparations now. Reparations forever. Say it one more time like your heart, mind, body, and soul believes in it. Champion, reparations now. Champion, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.